Locked On Sports Today is a free 24/7 sports streaming channel that's programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the noise. Locked On Sports Today also brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So guys, before we move on, I know it's difficult, but we're not about participation trophies, so I'm going to make you guys choose one winner and one loser. Start off with you, Jarvis. Give me a winner from Saturday's 34-3 win over Clemson.
Oh my gosh. Y'all know, I'm glad I went first because I'm sure BG probably going to mention it, but man, Jalon Walker. Jalon Walker. Jalon, let me talk to you for a second, my man. But do you understand how much money you can make playing that outside linebacker / edge spot, man? Because you have a talent that cannot be taught, sir. You are exceptional when it comes to being disruptive. And that's what NFL teams look for, man. They pay a lot of money. I'm talking about, I think Brian Burns making about $28 million a year. Come on, man. What we talk about here, dog? So, hey, like tell coach, like I understand y'all got this plan for me. Y'all gonna develop me. Y'all gonna get me to the league, all that stuff. But coach, you know, Mykell out a little bit, you know what I'm saying? We ain't got to compete for no snaps. I could be on the field at the same time whenever Mykell get hurt. Get hurt. But, you know, Mykell, man, take your time, bro. Take your time. Take your time. Let me get well. You know, don't rush. You know, let me get this money first, and then you come on back, and then we'll talk about, have a conversation about what we're gonna do. Stand up, outside linebacker. You know, we can have that conversation down the road. But let me get to this money first. But yes, my winner is Jalon Walker. 1,000 times out of 1,000 T, because he is that dude. I'm telling you, he's just it just makes me so happy to see him out there just causing havoc against the Clemson Tigers, which we know is coached by Dabo Swinney, who I feel like it is time for him to go ahead and go off right off into the sunset, sir.
Yeah, you and a lot of people, Jarvis.
Man.
They're kind of put a stamp on that to say, hey, I'm going to, start that farewell party for you a little bit early here.
Yeah, farewell tour. Yeah, it's
exactly. That farewell tour kind of sort of started Saturday, I feel like. But who for you, Brian, was that guy who you said, you know what? Yeah, there were some goods, even some greats, but he was the greatest on Saturday.
There's fewer things I enjoy of that our conversations in this podcast than when Jarvis gets to talk about someone in the front seven. Like he just lights up. Like it's like giving a little kid a piece of candy or something. Jarvis just changes his bulb. It goes off and just like, all right, this is my guy. I can talk about him and just dive in there. The other thing we need to, maybe it's us that it needs to start it, like a get the bag tracker. We were just talking about Malachi making some money on Saturday, being able to play the nickel, right? Like, what is the projected money that Jalon Walker made for himself on Saturday, going from this to that, and who knows what it might be for the rest of the season? It was very difficult to pick one winner. I had Jalon Walker at the top of my list, so I had to cross him out, as Jarvis was talking about him a minute ago. I'll go with just who's second on here, and that's the freshman Nate Frazier. It was hard to not be impressed by what you saw from him. And they realized in the second half that he needs to be the one that gets the ball. I also thought, like, they just didn't get it going in the first half with Branson. I didn't think he really looked bad. Some people thought he didn't have any holes to run into. He got hit behind the line multiple times in that first half. But Frazier has a different level of go for him. I mean, a lot of comparisons to Swift on Saturday. He looked really, really good. So he's going to be in the mix pretty heavily when ETN comes back. And I think he kind of maybe secured himself as potentially RB2 in the mix of all of this. So, and the other thing that was interesting is that Kirby had said before the game that with ETN, it may not necessarily be a one-game suspension. There's a chance that he's out at Tennessee Tech as well. So maybe we see a lot more Frazier, but he earned himself a lot more playing time and a lot more carries moving forward the rest of this season.
Which I think was interesting because I think we started off in one place maybe 2 weeks ago, but by last week we all kind of had a consensus, at least on this show, that we thought it would be a half a game. And so, like you said, now we're kind of interested to see where this is going to go when they take on Tennessee Tech this upcoming weekend. But hey, like I said, we had a winner and a loser from this show, from Atlanta Football Party Dogs edition, but the SEC also had some winners, if you will, good damn dogs for the week. We'll talk about those guys in just a second. But when I say loser, I don't know if we can really pick a loser, Jarvis, because I don't know if anybody played that poorly to be called a loser, but maybe the guy that we'll kind of say could improve improve in week 2 of the regular season for you, for Georgia?
I'm going to go with a group. I'm going to go with the offensive line, right? But we know that we saw some improvement within the at halftime, right? And Carson Bank was leading the charge. He was like, "Hey, coach, we got to come out and score in this second half." Because when you understand when your leaders comes out and says those things, you don't have to call anybody out individually. As a group, here's what we need to do. And they went out and actually did that. So I would say the offensive line, just for a little bit, it was a delayed winner, right? If I could say that, if I could use that. So, loser/delayed winner, it has to be the offensive line for me, because you understood, you saw those guys on film. You knew what to expect. You know those guys Clemson was going to bring it at least up on that defensive line. If anything else, that defensive line was going to bring it. And they brought it to them. And some of those guys, if we talking about a bag tracker, BG, Mr. Woods, that bag tracker is up.
Yes.
The arrow is up and it's green for sure.
No, 100%. That's a good call with the offensive line there. For me, I wrote down a couple actually, which it was hard at first, and then I started to think about it. And I'm going to go with two guys that just didn't play and maybe got kind of skipped on playing time based on that. Roderick Robinson, like him coming back. Take your time, young man, because I don't know. I mean, if Etienne's in this mix and Frazier's in this mix and Branson's in this mix, you're RB3 at best, maybe RB4. Cash Jones also played a good amount, and you could tell that the coaches trusted him the most in pass pro situations there too. So if it's not Etienne, it might be Cash Jones in passing downs situation. So for him, I think it was tough. And same thing with Aguero. I mean, he's going to play plenty coming back, but in that sense of, what if they want Bolden on the field and to put Starks at the nickel or mix it in a good bit because they trust Jackson because he's been there for, he's getting his doctorate now on year 6. And, so he's doing that whole thing. And he played pretty well on Saturday too. And then one other name for me was just because there was so much conversation about him in the offseason is Dom Lovett, in the sense of, the idea of him being like alpha male, going to get fed all these targets. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be this spread, 6 to 10 guys catching the ball, everybody getting involved. Colby Young, Humphreys, Arian Smith, we saw plenty. Dylan Bell, who left with cramps. Like this wide receiving core is deep, and I don't think there's going to be necessarily an alpha on this receiving core like we thought Dom might be heading into the season.
Yeah, because with Bell leaving the game due to cramps, I mean, we didn't blink. Like I kind of sort of, and no offense, but I kind of sort of forgot that moment happened. And then to your earlier point about the O-line being losers, Jarvis, well, hey, Kirby Smart kind of agreed with you because there was a question about Michael Morris, and he was like, yeah, practice better. And
interesting.
Yeah, so, Kirby, shots fired.
T, 1 point on with the like Dylan Bell going down and didn't miss a beat. It's also got to be another just dig at Dabo a little bit. Not that it was done on purpose, but like London Humphreys coming in, a transfer player who made a big impact on the game. Actually led Georgia in receiving in this one. Only had the 2 grabs, but found his way into the end zone. But it's like, imagine someone like that on Clemson's roster who needs help at wide receiver. Like the fact you're not even in the mix for that, and that conversation is silly. And the broadcast too. Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy did a good job in the middle of the fourth quarter, kind of saying like, all right, maybe it's transfer portal time here, Dabo, which people have been telling them for forever. But the fact that that's where they got to on the broadcast about 6-7 minutes to go, it's a pretty telltale sign.
And need something to talk about, BG.
Yeah, right. Gotta fill. It's a 30-point game. We got to fill.
Yeah. And it was right there for the taking, because that game was, as we talked about last week and even on the post game, like literally it was a referendum on going with the transfer portal and allowing it to supplement your team and continue to make it great and give it depth versus what we saw on the other side of the football. But good damn dogs for the week are actually dogs that we have seen from the beginning of their careers on through at Georgia. And that, of course, is SEC Offensive Player of the Week, Carson Beck, who connected on 23 of 33 passes, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, and even added a 13-yard run on the ground to help UGA pile up 447 total yards, no turnovers. And Peyton Woodring, who drilled a career-long 55-yarder, the first time that the Dogs had seen that in a game since 2018. But as we wrap up, guys, just one quick thing that you want to see this Georgia team improve upon as they get set for week 2 against Tennessee Tech.
Quick start. That's it.
Boom.
That's all I do.
offensive line play. Like Jarvis said, they were kind of losing. I want to see them come out and just maul people right from the get-go and get Branson Robinson going. Be more efficient early and often in between the tackles rushing the football.
Thanks to our everydayers for making the Atlanta Football Party your first listen of the day. Be sure to stop by Locked On Bulldogs for your second, and be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you on the Atlanta Sports Party Thursday.